Today on Sledhead 24/7, we review a few economy snowmobiles that prove you can have fun on a budget. We'll explain why Bully Dog products are a necessity for your truck. We'll get the latest news from Skidoo as we share the best setup for the famous R-Motion rear suspension. The AMSOIL World Championship Snowmobile Derby at Eagle River, Wisconsin is fast approaching. We'll show you what to expect. Sledhead 24/7 starts right now.
I'm your host, Misha Johnson, here with my boys, Mac and Fish. Oh my goodness, what have you guys gotten into?
Last thing left, I think we gotta just see if it runs.
Greetings everyone, and welcome to yet another edition of your favorite snowmobile show, Sledhead 24/7. I'm your host, Misha Johnson, along with my co-hosts, Paul Mack and Jeff Fisher, and we are here at Heinen's in beautiful Osseo, Minnesota. Now this first story, we're gonna show you how you don't need to break the bank to own a new snowmobile.
No, that's right. All the manufacturers make entry-level snowmobiles that are fun to ride but have great performance.
Really do. The economy class is something, because it isn't what it sounds like. You get almost all the big bang features in the big machines, but you don't get that big price. You can get into a great snowmobile for less than $8 grand.
It's true. You can almost buy 2 entry-level snowmobiles for the price of 1 high-end snowmobile. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm a bargain shopper, so this next story definitely has my attention. Take a look at this.
This is what we're going to call our mixed bag econo sled. So what we're trying to do is get something at a lower price point, something that's still got some performance but has a lot of features. We want reverse, we want to have decent wind protection. There's a lot of things we're looking for in econo stuff.
You know, we're always showing you these big, high-priced snowmobiles. We thought we'd just go something a little bit, different.
Because you don't have to spend $12,000 to have a great snowmobile, have a great ride.
We had an Indy 600 Polaris, we had a Skidoo Ace, and then we had the Yamaha Phaser. So we got to try those out a little bit.
The Ace was a blast to ride because of the way it handled.
The Skidoo was very comfortable. I felt like it didn't move around on me a lot, but didn't have as much power as some of the other sleds that we rode.
For someone my size, it doesn't quite have the power I want, but that's not what it was designed for. It was designed to get great mileage, designed for run for thousands of miles with little or no maintenance, and that's exactly what it does.
Still a good chassis, still good on the trails, excellent fuel mileage.
I think it's a great stepping stone.
So we grabbed the Polaris Indy 600. I mean, this kind of brought back a little bit of the memory of the nostalgia of kind of a basic sled that just, you know, was a fun sled to ride.
The Indy 600 was an all-around great sled.
What we've done is taken the old name, but put it on new technology. It's got an IQ rear end. I mean, the suspension is dynamite. The engine is legendary. Of course, the 600 Polaris has been noted for how many years about what a great power plant it is. It has great brakes. Clutching is spot on.
The styling is good, the seat is great, the rider position is great. I think they hit it.
It's like a $12,000 snowmobile with the performance of a 600 and a lot lower price point.
We grabbed the Yamaha Phaser. Now there's another one that's just a motocross style, kind of radical looking, 4-stroke, peppy little machine.
Really, I was surprised by the Phaser. It's 80 horse, light, it's like riding a dirt bike.
The Phaser, I didn't like it as much the first time I rode it, just because it wasn't as comfortable, but it was something that I enjoyed riding on the trails.
I think bang for the buck, it's a great ride. It's more like a dirt bike than any other snowmobile there is. You can toss it, you can turn it, it feels light, it's nimble.
I found myself hanging halfway off the Phaser.
When you get in the Phaser, you want to jump something. That's just how they are.
The Sledhead 24/7 test riders narrow it down to one econo sled that suited everyone's riding style. and is the best bang for your buck in the Econo category.
They were all great sleds. They were a lot of fun.
You know, out of those, the Indy 600 is a great all-around sled.
Probably my hands-down favorite just because of power, and that's, I tell you what, that's the main reason was the Indy 600.
I think for bang for the buck, absolutely the Polaris 680 because it's more versatile.
Snowmobiles that are fun, reliable, and offer performance. You know, it's really hard to beat an entry-level sled these days.
It really is. Economy class is fantastic. As I've said earlier, you get fantastic performance, you get great handling, you get today's technology at a lower price, which means for me you get 90% of the thrill of a big machine at probably 70% of the price. And I like bargains.
So do I, which brings me to my next point. It is time to go shopping, so break out that checkbook or plastic, whatever it may be, because manufacturers are offering some very competitive pricing and warranties right now. Don't miss out. All right, Sledders, stay right where you are. Sledhead 24/7 will be right back.
When Sledhead 24/7 returns, we'll find out why Eagle River is known as the snowmobile capital of the world. Who is Bully Dog? We'll show you the backbone of Bully Dog and why their products are a necessity. But first, get the latest news from Skidoo and discover how to make our motion work for you. Sledhead 24/7 is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics, Polaris, Terrain Domination, Speedworks, straight up USA horsepower, by GoPro, Be a Hero, and by Skidoo.
Welcome back to Sledhead 24/7. I'm your host, Misha Johnson, along with our snowmobile expert, tech expert, former racer, Mr. Paul Mack. Now, every once in a while, there comes an evolution in snowmobile technology.
You know, there really does, and Skidoo has done that now. When you've got the R-Motion and the T-Motion, T-Motion is more specifically on the mountain snowmobiles, the R-Motion and the flatland, there's nothing like it.
No, Skidoo is really pushing the boundaries here. Take a look at this.
What we have here is the R-Motion suspension, and it's got so many cool features. I mean, it's just so adjustable. You can make it fit any rider size or style. Steve, where do we begin adjusting and setting these up?
Well, first of all, let's go over some of the basics of what R-Motion is so people can understand what makes it different from other suspensions out there. Okay, they all look similar, but one thing that's unique on the R-Motion is you'll see that the spring here, the torsion spring, is separated from the shock motion, okay? So what we've done on the setup of this machine is in the first couple inches of travel, we're only using the spring to cushion the ride. The shock has very little play on it. So this shock right here is having very little action in the first couple inches of travel, which gives you a nice, smooth, supple ride. Then as you begin to stroke the suspension further into its travel, the shock comes into play. And progressive means that at the beginning of the suspension, we're not using much shock travel at all. And as we move further and further into suspension travel, we're using more and more of the shock travel itself. So we're stroking the shock farther and faster. That's the magic behind R-Motion. That's why it delivers such a good ride. The separation of the spring and the shock, and then the progressive rising rate of the shock itself.
You know, one thing you look at, how do you set it up? You know, they're gonna go ride it aggressive, they're going ditch banging. What should we tell them? Where should we start?
It's probably one of the biggest misconceptions we have with the R-Motion is guys that are going to do that think they need to turn up their spring preload, which is the wrong thing to do. What you want to do is you set up your spring preload for your weight and how much sag you want in the snowmobile. Your spring quick adjust over here, you'll notice that Jeff was riding it last, he has that at position 1.5. Perfect spot to probably start for most people, right there at 1.5. Instead, when you're going to run hard with your buddies, play with the compression damping. That's where you're going to get the extra capacity that you're looking for. The magic behind the R-Motion is the fact that you have a soft spring for that chatter to take that chatter out of the trail. So you see the little stutter bumps. By tightening up the spring preload on this side, you just lost all of that. So now you've got a very stiff, very rugged ride through the chatter. And then when you get into the big bumps, it's going to get stiffer yet. So you're not really doing yourself any service. Remind yourself, leave the spring basically where you are for your weight and the amount of sag you want. And then adjust over here for what the conditions of the day are and for the aggressiveness that you may want in the snowmobile that day. Going to be aggressive? Turn it up a notch. Back it back down when you're done with that. You want a good trail ride. Back towards the soft side.
How do I control for my ski pressure if there's too little or too much?
A couple things we can work with is the coupling block back here. This controls your weight transfer. So if you like to make sure that your skis lift when you want them and you are an active rider moving back and forth on the snowmobile, you'll probably want to stay in position number 1. Because that's the kind of guy that, when he wants to get into a corner and get ski pressure, he'll move forward with his body, put some pressure on the skis and turn the vehicle. Then when he comes out of the turn, when he wants to accelerate, he slides back in the saddle and grabs a handful. So you're controlling the pitch of the machine with your body weight and the throttle. Okay? But if you're also maybe a sit-still rider where you're not going to do a lot of action, you may turn it up to 2 or 3 to make sure you have good ski pressure in the turns. And that's what that does, is it controls the ski pressure and it controls the amount of transfer coming backwards on the snowmobile. So a coupling block, again, very easy. Push it in, rotate it to where you want it, you'll fit click into position. And make sure you do both sides at the same time.
With the R motion from Skidoo, it can raise your riding abilities to the next level.
Well, it certainly looks like the R motion and T motion are creating a little bit of buzz, isn't it, Paul?
You know, it really is. Skidoo has taken that suspension technology to the next level. I've been riding and testing hundreds of snowmobiles over decades. I've never ridden a suspension like this one, Mish.
And you know what? If you're not going to take his word for it, take my word for it, because it is amazing. All right, Sledder, stay right where you are. Sledhead 24/7 will be right back.
Still ahead, Bully Dog is our choice for performance in our trucks. See why Bully Dog is a necessity. From oval racing to the Snowmobile Hall of Fame, the AMSOIL World Championship Snowmobile Derby is coming up on its 50th year. We'll show you what to expect.
Welcome back to Sledhead 24/7. I'm your host, Misha Johnson, joined with my lovely co-host, Mr. Jeff Fisher, here at Heinen's in Osseo. Now, just recently, we had the opportunity to visit with a world-class automotive performance shop called Bully Dog. We've even tested some of their products on former episodes. But who exactly is Bully Dog?
Bully Dog, they're a performance company. We've had a chance to use their product, test it, use it, ride it, you name it, but now we're going to get a background of what they're all about.
Yep, they're fantastic. Take a look at this.
We're a performance company. We do mostly light duty and medium and heavy duty trucks. We're pretty much all in the truck market. When we grew up, we were farmers. My dad farmed. He was 3rd generation farmers. We were 4th generation farmers. But my dad also had a lot of interest in mechanical things. In the late 60s, he did a propane injection system on a tractor. Then later on, in the 70s, he started doing turbochargers on tractors. And that was kind of what prompted our roots in the performance industry.
Hi, I'm Jared Vollmer, and I'm with here at Bully Dog Technologies. I'm one of the engineers. Not only am I an engineer, I'm also the race truck driver for Bully Dog Technologies. One thing that we learn out there on the track is we learn what the limits are of the motor, what the limits are of the transmission, things that we can tune to optimize to bring this from the racetrack to your product. And so we'll go out and we'll optimize timing, we'll optimize fuel pressures, we'll optimize injection quantities just to see exactly what will damage the motor and what won't damage the motor. We take all this data, we bring it back to our engineering group, and we can go through and we can analyze and see exactly what we did to gain this amount of time and what we can do to pull this over into our everyday product and keep it a nice, safe, legal power.
Yeah, we've had some of our customers tell us that our products are really a necessity to them now. We felt like it was super important that we were able to let our customer base in the snowmobile industry know. We're pretty passionate about snowmobiles. We love the snowmobilers, and we know that they drive pickups and they enjoy performance, they enjoy fuel economy. I mean, it's a huge deal. If we can save people some fuel, then they can go out there and have more cash to do some of the other things that they need to do.
The product here is a perfect example of what we can offer all snowmobilers out there and anyone in the power sports market. Everyone needs to pull their sleds, whether it's on a sled bed or on a trailer, and that's going to affect the truck's performance. And this applies to everyone in the power sports market, whether it be a boat, snowmobiles, dirt bikes, whatever you're hauling around in that trailer or in the bed, the extra power is going to help you out. And then the fuel economy Nobody doesn't want fuel economy.
Future's big. I would just continue with what we're doing right now, and always trying to stay on the top.
Future of Bully Dog is really bright. We're at the perfect position right now in terms of emissions. We're working heavily with all the emissions control, but we don't only do that, but we're still providing top quality horsepower and performance. We're still becoming first to market with our new products and new applications, and we're still providing quality customer service to the customer. And that will be the future for Bully Dog for sure.
And moving forward, we want to do things that really help the consumer get more bang for their buck, whether it's engine protection, environmental protection, less fuel, more fun to drive. All those things we take very close notice of in our business and try and give the consumer a really great experience.
A family-owned business from Idaho that works on bigger power and better fuel mileage. I love it.
Oh yeah, and it's great. We've had a chance to use it. I've personally been using it for quite a few months, and tell you what, it does work. Where have you been all my life? I should have done this a long time ago.
And I'm gonna believe this guy. All right, sled fans, stay right where you are. Sledhead 24/7 will be right back.
Still ahead, the epicenter of the snowmobile world gathers at the AMSOIL World Championship Snowmobile Derby. This year, the party gets even bigger as they celebrate 50 years on ice. Sledhead 24/7 is brought to you by FXR, world-class outerwear, Stud Boy, traction with an attitude, by Spy Optics, and by Articat. Share our passion.
Welcome back to Sledhead 24/7. I'm your host, Misha Johnson, along with my co-host, Paul Mack, and we are still here at Heinen's in Osseo. Now, one of snowmobile's most sacred racetracks is in Eagle River, Wisconsin, and I'm of course talking about the world-famous Derby track.
No, there's nothing like it. It all started back over 50 years ago. It started on Dollar Lake, Misha, actually. It was a little lake it started out in, and it got so big, it progressed and evolved into where it is now at Eagle River Derby Track. And now in the 90s, we've added snowcross. We've added vintage racing. It's turned into such a huge week-long deal. Nobody envisioned it 50-some years ago to see what it is today. And if you haven't saw it, it's something to see.
Absolutely. And speaking of, we're actually preparing for the AMSOIL Championship Snowmobile Derby coming up this season. And let me tell you, this is a race you do not want to miss. Take a look at this.
Together, these two words have massive meaning to a snowmobile fan. Eagle River. Eagle River, a snowmobile destination, big-time racing tradition, and a gathering spot for those who love frozen fun.
Well, you hear it behind us, Eagle River's a bunch of two-strokers whipping around at 100 miles an hour in the cold, and got the fog in our faces here tonight, and it's one of the best races in the world.
And now the AMSOIL Eagle River Derby track is reaching a milestone. This January, Eagle River enters its 50th year. 5 decades of great racing history.
Event organizers quickly reached the 50 entries like they had hoped, and over 100 drivers and between 2,000 and 3,000 spectators attended the first year on a crisp February Sunday afternoon.
For half a century, massive crowds have made the trek to this small northern Wisconsin town.
Huge tradition. The cool thing we really like about coming down here is like the die-hard snowmobile fans. It's the people that are outside. It's minus 20 this morning. It's about 0 right now. They're just hanging out there in droves watching.
There are plenty of reasons Eagle River has earned the reputation as snowmobile capital of the world. Eagle River features the best ice racing on the planet. These are modified sleds tricked out to the max and designed for speed.
Thing is, it's just full throttle. That's the best way to win races. Naturally, sometimes you don't finish, but that's the name of the game, they say.
But ice racing's only part of the story. Eagle River features a class for every race and every racer, from new to old, in just about any make or model. From snowcross to freestyle, a place and a race for anyone who feels the need for speed. But Eagle River is also a track frozen in time. It's the home of the Snowmobile Hall of Fame, a place for the legends of the snow, with a look back at the contributions they made to the sport they love. And for fans, it's a one-of-a-kind experience.
Well, we've got about 70 sleds on the floor here that have been either restored or in excellent original condition. About every 6 months to a year, we try to rotate them through. Majority, that is. There are a few special ones that will stay here. Some of these sleds that these guys restore look better now than they did when they were made, for crying out loud.
There's plenty to plan for and look forward to, including the 2013 AMSOIL Eagle River Derby Track Weekend, January 18th, 19th, and 20th.
The world-famous Derby track can certainly be summed up in one word: legendary.
Yeah, the AMSOIL World Championship Derby race. You know, if you don't have that on your bucket list, I would suggest putting it on your bucket list.
It certainly is something that you have to see to believe. It all started back on Little Lake and is ending up in a big-time track.
Well, boys, I hate to break the news, but that is all the time we have for this edition of Sledhead 24/7. And I want to give a very big thank you to Heinen's, the #1 volume dealer, and all of our sponsors. I'm your host, Misha Johnson, along with our co-host, Paul Mack and Jeff Fisher. Make sure to visit us online at sledhead24-7.com and follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Next week on Sledhead 24/7, catch up with the home of horsepower as Speedworks heads to the mountains for some high-altitude testing. And of course, MJ, Mack, and Fish will have the latest from the world of snowmobiling. That's all next week on Sledhead 24/7.